So for the big enterprises and the big challenges that we're here to solve, the key is connecting the dots between the data, the systems, the people, the AI, the processes. It all has to work together if you're going to really achieve those goals.
Welcome to Partner TechX. I'm Scott Campbell with the Global Technology Industry Association. This week we are bringing you GTIA on location from Phoenix, and we're talking about all things channel partner programs, technologies, platforms, everything that helps make channel partner programs so successful. And I am joined right now by James Hodgkinson, Chief Strategy Officer at 360 Insights, one of the companies that helps perform or helps channel partners and channel vendors perform better with their vendors, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We're trying to work out that age-old problem of how to really accelerate, this channel and indirect and increasingly hybrid strategy where, we have these big companies, they have thousands of partners, they're trying to do all these different things with them, but how do you really make it work? So that's a big part of what we're working on at 360.
So Partner TechX then must be a great show for you, right? Can you tell us a little bit about what you've seen, heard, learned so far?
Yeah, and actually what we've learned over multiple years and the capacity in which we're here is quite interesting because we attend this event as the 360 Insights ecosystem, which is 360 and a series of other companies who are working together to create integrated solutions for the industry. So of the sponsors here, there's 30 or so different tech companies, and around a third of those are all part of this ecosystem that we've created at 360. And I think that came out of a realization that nobody's got all the answers. Different technology providers do different things really well. So for a big customer of ours to really succeed, they need to work with these different companies, and that can be services and software and all of these different capabilities. But traditionally, it's been hard to put the jigsaw together with all these integrations. So we're working that out on behalf of the industry, and at TechX we've been presenting together. So my session today was with 6 companies who are all telling the same story effectively.
So your session talked about, I think, 3 issues that companies face, right? Including the first, let's talk about 3 of them. The first one is driving partner revenue and engagement, right? So what are the big issues around that, and what do you see as potential solution?
Yeah, and actually, I'm really pleased the conversation was anchored around business goals and outcomes, because a lot of technology traditionally has been bought at the feature and function levels. Yep. So people will say, I need a system that does these things. The conversation here was about, I've got some business goals that I need systems to help me execute. And that way around is exactly what we think the conversation should be. So if you think about partner-sourced revenue, there's massive potential, exponential potential, because if you're a company that has 10,000 partners and they all make a certain amount of revenue by selling your solutions, improve that by 10%.
Right.
It's a big number. But the challenge is it's not easy to do it because the systems and the enablement frameworks fall down quite quickly because every partner has a different persona, they all work in different regions, they speak different languages, they have different business models. And then on the system side, we have all of these different tools like deal registration and MDF, and then you have a partner portal and a PRM system. And so the big challenge that we're solving here is how do you organize those technical stacks to actually help people achieve those business goals? So when it came to partner growth and source revenue, much of that conversation was, these are the tools you need to help you support this, and here's how we can help you put them all together.
So it sounds like there's a lot of different things involved in that. What would you say is the biggest solution to eventually solving that issue?
Well, I think if you're a large enterprise that is very reliant on partners, and that's really all of the attendees
Everybody here.
Yeah. And you're talking, multi-billion-dollar companies who have all these networks.
And thousands of partners.
Thousands.
And hundreds of types of partners, or dozens of types of partners.
At every stage of the client lifecycle, right? So you have partners who help you sell, you have partners who do implementations and services, and now we've got partners who are building solutions for your marketplace. And so you have to kind of be all things to everybody to some extent, and that's where technology can be a challenge and an opportunity, because if you can't organize, the supply to that demand, it will break down at any kind of level of scale. So I think in terms of the opportunity that we've been framing and bringing to those clients is how do you sort of break it down into those core components where it's possible to sort of take the the first steps that are going to deliver the biggest outcomes and keep going in that direction, basically.
So revenue growth is one component of complex partner relationship, right? Another one is partner engagement and customer and satisfaction, right? Partner satisfaction, which is another issue you guys have identified. Talk a little bit about some of the issues there and what companies like you guys are doing.
Yeah, so ease of doing business is something that people talk about all the time, but it doesn't really matter unless it's ease of doing business to support X, because just making it easy to do business with me is like saying it's easy to use Netflix, but there's no content inside of it, right? It's got to be both. So what we've done in our strategy and what we've been excited to share with industry practitioners is you need to think about the layers of this challenge as different things. So the experience is one piece. How do you make it all work so there's a storefront for all of it, right? The Netflix of your company, where everything's connected. And then there's the depth of architecture. So a lot of these big enterprises have already invested deeply in CRM systems and content management systems and learning management systems. And then in the middle, there's all these other tools, which are some of the companies here that do specialist channel technologies, companies who do account mapping and partner optimization. And so what we're starting to see is that if you think about those different layers and you start to connect the dots between the different capabilities, where 360 is taking a very interesting position is how can you help companies, kind of platform for those connected architectures. And now with the conversation, we're shifting to AI, it's like, well, if you want to make it easy to do business because of AI, it's only going to work if the data sources and the systems are actually connected. Because if you ask a question of AI and it can't get the answer without you needing 10 different AIs or, all these different capabilities that aren't working together, then it's not going to work. So that's a big part of what I'm seeing. The potential to use AI to increase ease of doing business can only be realized if you connect the architectures.
That's great. So the third leg of that, so to speak, is you got the revenue, you've got the customer satisfaction, but the other thing is optimization and simplification, right? We've heard all day how complex and how challenging partner programs can be, right? There's a million different, we talked about how many different even types of partners there are, how many different types of MDFs and how many different types of incentives and how many different types of things. Can you talk a little bit about the need to simplify and optimize? Because that's a win-win for the enterprise vendor partner and also for the partner, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of my favorite sayings is, any fool can make something complicated, but it's a genius to make it simple. Yes. And this really, I think, is a key thought that you can apply to partner experience, that it's better to have give somebody the 3 buttons and the 4 bits of content and the one AI tool they actually need than it is to overwhelm them with all these different features, functions, capabilities. Because if you're bringing, this kind of unstructured mess to a partner, how do you expect them to operate within that construct? So this is a lot about meeting people where they're at, giving them the right assets, content, information, and tools at the right time to perform whatever is important to them in the strategy. Because a build and development partner for one of our customers is totally different from a reseller, is totally different from a MSP. So this ability to kind of simplify that complexity is really key, and also to enable the brands, our customers, to be able to manage and organize all of this without a lot of development or code, because a lot of companies get held back by the heavy lifting in the technology side as well.
Okay, and the last question I want to ask is, how does those 2 big letters that we're basically legally required to ask at this point, AI, how do they fit into all this too? How are you guys using AI to kind of do some of the things we talked about?
Yeah, so again, it's increasingly important to recognize that AI is going to be coming from all sides, right? Everybody's building in-house AI now. People are putting AI into products. People are talking about we don't need software anymore because of AI. So again, it comes back to the same concept that we've been talking about with this more ecosystem strategy of lots of companies working together. We have to find a way to make the AI work together. Because in a simple example, if you ask a question, of a tool and say, how many MDF dollars do I have to spend on this marketing activity? It cannot know the answer to that question without both the MDF system and the marketing system plugged into it.
And they all have, the data has to be clean the whole way through too, right?
Exactly, and the depth and the strength of the tooling is still going to be needed because, as I know, 360 is very strong in incentives. We run global incentives programs for hundreds and hundreds of companies. That isn't just a feature in AI, it's a whole business, right? So you have to work out, I think, how to connect the systems together, which is something we were working on years before AI was even a thing. So the opportunity now for our partners and for our customers to leverage the same frameworks, it's making it easier, because software was often the friction. Like if I have to log into 20 different applications and I have to go looking for dashboards in 10 different systems, AI is changing it, because you can have systems, conversations around intelligence that's in multiple systems from one place, right? So, but you can only do that if you connect the systems.
All right, I lied. One more question, last question. What advice would you have for other companies, other vendors, as well as maybe for partners too, on what they can do to sort of improve their channel relationships from their point of view?
So I think understanding the business and the business objectives first is the key. And we've seen this a lot with people who rush to technology before they know what they're trying to do with it. Yeah. And a big part of our ecosystem and some of the companies that we're here with aren't tech companies. They're expert services and program design organizations. But by putting their skills together with our technologies, everybody's working together. So you don't have a consultant who comes in and says, here's what you should do, but we have no idea how the technology is going to do it. You've got a lot of people working, on the same outcomes. So what we're really telling our clients is you really need to have a strategy, a plan, and a set of goals in mind, and then operationalize the technology to support those goals. And we've been, we had some really good client advocacy this week. We jointly presented here with ServiceNow, who's working with us on a lot of their strategy. And, the real proof of life is, did this impact our business and how? So if you start with a plan and you know what you're trying to measure and you have an actual strategy, the technology is going to work downstream from there. Don't start with the technology and the features. That's the biggest advice I could give.
All right, so start with a plan and the technology will follow, right?
100%. And that can be a very small plan to achieve a very small set of goals, or it could be a very big plan to take over the world in multiple phases. But either way, you've got to have a plan.
All right, James, I appreciate it very much. Thank you for joining us in GTIA on Location.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
And thank you very much for joining us and watching on GTIA on Location. Again, we're at Bapti & Company's Partner TechX in Phoenix. We'll be back more soon. Check out the playlist, check out our website, subscribe, like, all the things, and we'll see you soon.